Welcome to It's All About the Questions, where learning to ask the right questions can help you achieve lifelong success. Now, here to help you ask all the right questions is award-winning author, international speaker, and business strategist, Laura Stewart.
Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. And I am so hoping I am back into a rhythm for the show. All these ridiculous hospital visits, I'm like so done with them. I'm so done with doctors. I'm so done with hospitals. I'm so done with these fevers that just will not go away. So I want to thank you all for bearing with me since the beginning of July, when the gallbladder saga and the post-gallbladder saga began. And I have guests booked every week in through, the next several months, and more people that want to come on. One of the downsides of doing your show live all the time is if you're sick or something happens, you don't have any shows in the bank already recorded that you can just play. But I love the live aspect. So I'm open to any suggestions from you, my listeners, on some ways that I could perhaps do this if I do get sick, or for God forbid, I want to take a vacation somewhere, how I do it, because I love the live aspect. I love being with you live. I love talking to my guests live, because you know what? I can record something and a month later, the topic may not be totally relevant, or there might have been another question that I want to ask that person because something happened in current events. So I'd love your input on that. And let's just dive right in today with everything that's going on, because I love my guest that I'm having on my show today. And I met her because of Marcella Allison, who is going to be on the show next week, because we're teasing a major event that I'm involved with that's coming up. And Amy Biddle is, oh my God, I can't believe I never met Amy before this last month. She is this amazing marketer. She does traffic. But more than that, she's just this kick-ass woman that has become such a friend just in a very short period of time. I think she is brilliant, not just when it comes to conversations about acquiring customers, converting customers, repeating customers, setting up traffic. And when we're talking about traffic, we're talking about e-commerce and sites and selling things. But I think she's got a wonderful life perspective. So I'm going to bring her back on the show, back to the show live, because I had taken her off the studio a few moments ago so I could do my thing. So Amy, I'm like so tongue-tied because I'm so excited to have you here today. Plus I got a bit of a fever. So let's see where this fever crazed show goes today.
This is going to be exciting. Thank you for that amazing introduction, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you said yes to being on the show today, because you sort of kicked off this energy for me to go, let's get back on to a rhythm. And I think that's a great place for us to start, Amy, because rhythm, when it comes to marketing, is huge. So critical. And, you know, my show is in the top 5% globally of all podcasts. But I've noticed that rankings and other things, which I try not to obsess over, have shifted with, I went 7 weeks after my surgery of being completely unable to do my show. And as I said, I do my show live, so I didn't have anything canned, but I didn't even have the energy to do social posts with old shows, like to keep it in front of me. Why is rhythm so important when it comes to marketing and the success of a business? How's that for a question?
I love that question, because it's about humans. We're not machines. Everything has a cycle. Everything has a rhythm. Humans, we're these microcosms of, what happens on the outside. I talk to my clients all the time about, I say, my boy Hermes, right? The ancient Egyptian philosopher, as above, so below, right? Well, as without, so within. So everybody has circadian rhythms, biorhythms, so do markets, so buying markets for e-commerce, buying markets for thought leaders, just everything, the calendar, the year, fourth quarter sales, boom, the middle of first quarter, take a break, you know. So it's all, and look wherever you want. Look in the Bible or look in economics. It's cycles.
Yet, for so many people that are solopreneurs or entrepreneurs that are just beginning to grow their business, or maybe have a couple of members of the staff, it seems overwhelming to create a marketing rhythm while you are trying to grow your business, figure out all the different niches. Now you got to learn not only social media. I mean, I'm 58, right? So when I started my career, there was no social media, right? When I first started my career, there was CompuServe bulletin boards. We had dial-up modems.
Yes.
And all of that stuff. I remember getting my first computer with 2 floppy disks. One was the data and one was WordPerfect or whatever it was at the time.
I don't miss that.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't either. But basically it was the Mad Men theory of advertising. You advertised in magazines or newspapers, and some corporations did TV. And perhaps radio. Radio was accessible to small business more so than TV because of the costs and production involved. So, I mean, what do you say to somebody who's like, this is overwhelming?
It is. It is overwhelming. You start where you can. One of my favorite metaphors is, you ever see Kung Fu Panda? I love that movie. I love that movie. So it's like, meet your clients where they are. If you're teaching Poe, if Poe is your market, meet them where they are. Get them where you can. If you're tiny, if you're a one-person business, you just reach as many people as possible. So audience always comes first. Audience always comes first. Even when you're considering, what am I going to sell? Audience comes first, because who's going to buy my stuff? You think about, whatever you're selling, whether it's a course, excuse me, or a product, anything. You think about, who am I going to be talking to? So audience always comes first. But then, you really get into the nitty gritty of the product, and either product development or product manufacturing. Then you get into budget, and that's leverage, how to reach the most number of people. But at the end of the day, just meet them where they are. And if you're a one-person audience, and you're worried about, market trends, that's too much. You can't start there. You start with audience, then product, then you rehash your audience to figure out the messaging, to get that product out there, and then consider your budget, which again is leverage, and then rinse and repeat. I mean, that's pretty much, that's the cycle. And then you grow as much as you can, as fast as you can, scaling budget and audience.
Okay. So you talked about budget, you talked about audience. I had recently had Belinda Weaver on the show.
Yes. I love that.
Thank you. It was so much fun having her on the show, because we talked about how to make yourself choosable versus the idea of unique value proposition. It's just another way of looking, right, at value proposition. Yes. But I like the word, how to make yourself choosable, versus, oh my God, I have to think of something that nobody else has done. And that's not really true, because frankly, there's nothing original in the world. There's just another way of doing something, kind of thing. Yep. Now, taking that into account though, Amy, it still feels overwhelming when you after you have, say, figured out your audience, and you've, I said, okay, I'm going to focus on Facebook or Instagram, or perhaps I'm going to figure out some other way of marketing other than those particular social platforms, because I don't think that's where my people hang, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, how do you start? I mean, there's a quote on your Facebook page, by the way, and I love this. All right, so I'm just going to share this. When you
Yes.
shift your thinking to using your audience members' favorite topic, you will never want for anything ever again.
True story.
Okay, I don't get that in
Okay.
terms of the actual marketing of your own product. Can
Yes.
you kind of
Yes.
take us through that, what that means? It
I
was
know
the coolest
why.
quote.
Yeah. Thank you. I know why you can't tap into that, because you think like a marketer. Most of the people that I work with think like merchandisers. So they're really good at, packaging and presenting, taking beautiful pictures of beautiful products. They're really, really good at that. But what they don't consider is, what is my audience thinking? What is the person who's going to buy this think? So um, when you really get into somebody's head, and now we're talking deep, deep relationships and data, those two things have a marriage that is, you can't break it. Relationships and data go hand in hand. I was an English major, so when I discovered numbers, it was like, whoa,
Yeah, you're
look at
such a
that.
data geek. That's one of the things I
Oh my
love
God.
about you. You're a total data
I
geek.
should have been an actuary, but really, when I got to college, all I could do was read, and then I could read and write when I got out, but and think a little bit. But yeah, work has been really good for that. But so when you can tap into what's actually happening in the mind of your customer, that's when things really take off. We're at a very interesting crossroads now because of the privacy issues. I know other guests, and you have talked about this as well, that the privacy issues that we're, you know, um, living through right now, Apple versus Facebook, Google and Apple versus like everybody else, um, the privacy issues of dropping tracking and not having access to like my phone listening to me all the time, which that's a thing. Um, maybe there's less data. Maybe there's less information about me for sale out in the marketplace. But relationships, blow that out of the water. So if you talk to me, ask me what I want. If I'm a merchandiser, but I'm you focused, I you're my market. And those relationships, in a cold way, think of it as leverage. But in a warm way, think of it as, friendship. And you want to fall in love with your customers so that they fall in love with you.
Okay,
And
can
when
you
you
give me an
have that,
example?
absolutely, yeah. So I have a client who is a brilliant merchandiser, brilliant. He makes beautiful products, but he has a hard time finding his market. Now, this is a guy who we grew his business to over $1 million. Um, and 5 million will be next. And he'll get there too. He's 28 years old, but we have, I know, right? The guy, the guy's just brilliant though. So, he makes beautiful products, but it's finding the messaging that's going to reach his people. But, just the nature of, I don't want to say too much about him because I don't have permission to say, he's mine. Um, but like the idea of saying the right thing, um, you know uh,
Can you
finding the
find an
moment.
example that could be a
Yeah.
little bit more concrete? Like take
Yeah,
us through
absolutely.
like the process?
Yeah, so he's developed some pieces of clothing that his market really responds to. He could put out an email and sell out in a couple of days. So this is really good, and that means that he's tapped into his market. Every
Okay.
merchandiser wants that. They want to say, okay, I've got 2,000 of these things, and I want to send 2 emails and sell out. That's the dream. That's a wonderful thing. At the same time, you don't always want to be out of merchandise. You don't always want your inventory to be down to zero, because then, you have to think about things like buying more. How long is it going to take to get there?
Right.
Do I have the capital to be able to buy enough to sell out again? So all these things. But he has he's got a hook that really works with his market. He knows exactly what to say so that they resonate and they want to stay with him. There's a lot of love there that you can, you look at the messaging in the emails, you look at, the buying rate, copywriters talk about recency and marketers talk about recency, frequency, and money. And, just by working on a few of those things, you can really tap in, but it's more than the first purchase. First purchase is just opening the door. Ding dong, Avon's calling. First purchase, that's expensive. It's very expensive to get a first purchase sale.
But the cost of acquisition, customer acquisition.
That's right, exactly. Okay. And when you can have an identifiable, quantifiable numbers, I love numbers, lifetime value of a customer. And well, I've been in business, so this guy just had his 4-year anniversary. He started his business when he was 24 years old. He has 4 years of data going from nothing up to beyond $1 million in revenue in a 12-month period. So he knows, most of my customers will buy twice in a 6-month period, or whatever that number is. But that's the direction that you want to go. That's not just about revenue. It's about relationship. When you get that relationship down, you can sell again. So maybe it's in the first year of that new relationship, maybe you sell twice in 6 months, but then the next 6-month period, you sell 3 times or 4 times. So it's that kind of, and that's control. When you have those numbers, you have that kind of control. And if you want, I can give you another example.
Yeah, I do want another example, but I there was something you said that I know my astute listeners probably picked up on, right? Okay. You said email. And I love email. So many marketers are saying that email is dead. You have to advertise on social media. Nobody reads email anymore. Why are you bothering? You need to start doing text messaging out to your clients with all the new product stuff. Yet you said email, and this guy it sounds like he's built a massive portion of his business through building his list, not relying on outside things. Like Facebook was down for 5 hours
Monday,
or whatever
hours.
It was. 6
awesome.
hours.
I haven't relaxed so much in a year.
So why is that important? And I know this is a peeve of yours and mine, that people are just like, well, use Facebook, use Insta, use LinkedIn, use whatever, but you don't own the connection at that point. They own it. Right. They own everything about it. So why? Tell me, talk to us.
Because there's an XY axis.
Okay, you need to explain that. Remember, we're watching on video, but a large portion audio only.
Exactly. Yep. All right. So XY, picture 2 lines at a right angle. Okay. You've got the foundation, the X, and the up and down line is the Y.
So the floor and the wall.
The floor and the wall. Thank you. So let's say the floor is your X-axis, which is the traffic you control. That's what you own. And the Y-axis is the wall. So you want to be way high up the ceiling on that wall, and you want to be way, way out on the floor so that you can reach and control as many people as possible. So email is control, but the wall side of that equation is reach. So you want reach and control. You can't have both. Unless you have an email list of 100,000 people who really loved you, and there aren't many people who have that. You can't just do your marketing on email. So you have to acquire on the Y-axis. You have to acquire on the wall. You have to acquire, go where the people are, there's that old story about, the drunk who leaves the bar. It's 2 a.m. He's out in the parking lot under the parking lot lights looking for his keys. Bartender's locking up, comes outside. This guy's obviously a frequent customer, so he knows him. He says, "Sammy, what are you looking for?" And the drunk says, "I'm looking for my keys." He says, "Well, is this where you lost them?" He says, "No, but the light's here." You gotta go. You gotta go. You gotta go where the people are.
I've never heard that before, but that is
Isn't
so
that awesome?
brilliant.
Yes, exactly. Well, we don't just shop under the streetlight for customers because the keys may not be there, but the keys are out in the dark. So you got to go find them.
And you find them how?
You have to know who they are.
Okay.
So when my client guy that I was talking about earlier, he's putting his product idea together. He has to consider, well, who am I going to be selling to? And that's where he got his hook, because he has an in with the particular audience that is unique to him, and millions of his closest friends that he hasn't met yet. So he says, okay, I have an audience that I can tap. I have a product that I know they'll love, or I believe they'll love. And this is where you get the marriage of intuition and science, which is relationships and data, which is list and offer, which is, if you are a student of marketing, you know that everything comes down to lists and offers. Back to Claude Hopkins, for anybody who's a copywriter who's listening, or a marketer who's listening, you know who Claude Hopkins is. Claude Hopkins was the guy who, promoted Pepsodent and a bunch of other stuff early in the 1900s. And, really kind of broke the mold. He was a multimillionaire marketer when people were living on $5 a week. So
that says a lot.
It does say a lot, right? Exactly. So anyway, lists and offers. And when you have that dialed in, you don't just make one sale. You don't just go out to Facebook and say, "Hey, I have this thing." They might not even hear you because it's noisy. But if you say that enough to the right people, and you say it in the right way, and then you want a way to get in front of them again, then you use email so that you can do that. People still check their email. How many times a week do you check your email?
It's more like day. How many times a day do I check my email? Okay, you said something that I want to step back to, sort of click on, is this idea of, I'm trying to think of the exact word you said. I wish I could rewind the recording to get the exact words back. But, it's about saying things and getting people to finally click on them, right? It used to be that you'd have to say things 7 times. That was the magic number. You had to email somebody 7 times. You needed to put an advertisement in a newspaper or a magazine 7 times in a row. And then eventually it would break through somebody's consciousness, subconscious, and come to their conscious forefront. And they'd be like, "Oh, I must have this paper clip holder," which, by the way, this was on my dad's desk when I was growing up. And he's since passed, but I use it on my desk now.
Nice.
But they used to say it takes 7 times. I feel like because social media algorithms filter what somebody sees, that 7 number doesn't really work to cut through to make sure that it's actually seen. With a magazine or a newspaper or a radio spot, you knew that, they were going to be there. If they read the magazine or the newspaper, they probably read it every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But social media, I had a friend say to me, "How come you didn't respond that my mom died?"
Oh, you never saw it. They never
and
told
I'm
you.
like, that never hit my feed, and I hadn't
Yeah.
been on social media for a bunch of days. And I'm like,
Yes.
your mother died and you didn't tell me?
Right. Exactly. Now we have a whole new conversation about relationships because
Right.
there's a machine in the middle of people now deciding who gets to see what. And most people don't know that. People don't know that Facebook owns WhatsApp, Instagram, Messenger, which is why they were all down last Monday.
Right.
So, but that relationship thing is about the algorithm decides who sees what. The algorithm decides, okay, if X number of people, and I don't think anybody knows the actual number, but if I put on my feed what I had for lunch, and it was a particularly exciting lunch, then people will respond. If so many people respond, then Facebook says, this is a post that people need to see. And so they push it back up and they push it out to more people. When there's a significant amount, like in numbers, they talk about statistical significance. So that statistical significance is somewhere in the order of 20 to 25 people. When they see your lunch post, and it involved avocado, which is, especially important these days. So they see my avocado toast lunch and people go, wow, that looks great. And then there are more and more comments underneath. That post rises to the top.
So you need 25
20
comments,
to
likes.
25, right.
Is
But
it
that's just organic. Likes,
okay?
comments, and shares. Right,
Okay.
exactly. Now, when that doesn't happen, then it's crickets. But there are other parts of the algorithm that say who sees what. How does Facebook decide? I have 2,000 friends on my Facebook, friends list. Trust me, I don't know them, but like half my high school class is on there, and all kinds of people, and we
Right.
stay in touch that way. But the other, however many, I don't actually know them. So how does Facebook decide who sees? Who are the next 20 people who get my avocado toast lunch post? So there's a whole lot of stuff that we just can't control. So then now take this to marketing. Let's get away from avocado toast and let's talk about, a piece of art that hangs on the wall. Not
Okay.
everybody has a wall that they own. So not everybody is going to be able to put art on the wall that they own. So then you have to think about, okay, how am I going to get this piece of wall art out to people so that I get people who own their wall, who have enough disposable income to care about art on the wall, who have enough disposable income to care about art that I sell. You can't do that organically on commercial anymore on Facebook. Used to be years ago, probably more than 4 years at this point. I think it's closer to 5. Used to be you'd just be able to put stuff out there. People would see it, like, comment, share, great, boom, out. But that's why we have paid traffic now on Facebook and Instagram too, because you manage them both in the same place.
So paid traffic bypasses the whole, it may not show up on somebody's feed. Yes or no?
Okay. It doesn't bypass, but it hedges your bets.
Okay.
Because then all of it's an auction, it's a bidding situation, but now we're in the marketplace. So picture, the farmer's market, and going to the farmer's market, and let's say it's Saturday morning. It's busy, like everybody's there, and you got puppies in one place, and you got like every booth has every product that they offer, and it's noisy and it's busy, and don't let your kid's hand go because you'll never see them again. That busy.
Okay.
So, so that's Facebook. Now we're at the marketplace. Now we're at the farmer's market, and if I yell loud enough, people will hear me. Yelling loud in the farmers market is like, how much can I bid, and what placements do I choose? So there's a whole lot of techie stuff that goes into how to make this work. But by using paid traffic, you can get in front of people. And there's another kind of campaign that you can set up that gets in front of those people again. So that's retargeting. But back to your question, the reason that we went into this rabbit hole is email. Email is retargeting on that x-axis.
Okay. So the floor, the
Now
foundation.
you have the floor. Now you have the foundation. Now you want to acquire on the wall. You want to be way high up in the wall. You want a good booth at the farmer's market so that when you yell, people can hear you.
Okay,
And
because when it comes to a house, the higher the ceiling, the greater the value.
yes.
So you
Yes,
want
that's a
that
good way to say
wall to keep
You want
going
that wall.
higher and higher because it gives you a higher ceiling, so you don't max out, kind of thing.
Mhm.
You don't hit
Right, exactly.
the ceiling. Okay, got it.
Facebook has the number varies, 2.5, 2.8 billion monthly users. They're not all everyone's market, but it's enough of a thing.
Oh, for those
where
watching on the video, my pest control guy appears to be behind me
I was
outside
going
the
to say
house.
that. I was on a call last week and somebody's husband was walking by. I said, "Don't turn around. There's a man behind you."
I need to get better drapes in here, but blinds. But anyway, that was just pretty funny. Okay,
It's part of the show.
sorry,
So,
Amy.
that's all right. So anyway, you want to be high enough up the wall so that you reach enough people. The people are on Facebook. They're on Instagram. And there are demographics and different ways of finding them, psychographics too. So, but then you encourage them to go from Facebook and invite them to join you in email. When you do that, you have more control because then you're just paying for electricity and your email and maybe someone to write it for you if that's not your strong suit.
Well,
to
I'm
get
looking at it
funding.
going, Facebook ads, so not my strong suit.
Right.
I've tried and it's been a massive failure every time. So
Yeah. It's not easy.
no. Okay, so let's just expand on that a little
Yes.
bit further there, Amy.
Mhm.
We've got some sort of ad going out, whether it's on Facebook, some other social media platform, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Are you saying that instead of trying to sell the product on Facebook, and this may not be one or the other thing, rather than trying to sell that product on Facebook, you want to capture their email instead? Or when you sell the
Maybe both.
product, okay.
Maybe both. Yeah. Because, thinking, so let's get back to your solopreneur, or maybe it's a mom and pop and they have limited resources because they don't have bottomless pockets and there are only 24 hours in the day. So between the two of them, they can each work 16 to 18 hours and that's not sustainable, to be able to grow the business. So then how can we best use our time to reach as many people as possible, affordably? Okay, so now one of the great things about doing business on Facebook is that auction that I was, very briefly mentioned a minute ago. That auction means that, that mom and pop business can compete with companies like Adidas, who went all digital a few years ago. I think they've gone back to some, traditional marketing, but they because of that auction, we're buying placements based on popularity, there are 150,000 formulas inside the Facebook algorithm. That's more than I can do on my calculator now.
Okay, so is that like, sorry, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So is that like with a Super Bowl ad, when you're talking about the auction and placement, the ad right before halftime or just before the coin toss or the first ad or whatever, it costs more than the ad in the middle of halftime because most people are probably grabbing food or going to the bathroom.
Right. Exactly.
So is that what you were talking about, using that as an example?
And there are people who figure that math out to say, okay, my team is winning, my team is losing. How many people are likely to be on at any particular 15-second place during that, 3-4 hour show? So yeah, there's a whole lot that goes into, so that's about placement, that's about psychographics, demographics, all that stuff. So there are things that we just don't have to think about. Facebook will automate some of those things for us, and then it's just a matter of audience and list, people and message, same thing.
Audience and list, people and message.
Hmm.
Know when your people are going to be hanging out on the
Maybe not
social
even
platform.
when. Maybe not even when, because we have a 24-hour world now. So I don't have to, in marketing and advertising, they call that day parting. But if I only have $50 a day to throw at my marketing, now we have the John Wanamaker problem, the conundrum that he was up against. Have you heard this quote? So I love
I
this
have
quote.
not, but my aunt used to work at John Wanamaker's.
Well, you mentioned, I think you mentioned Gimbals the other day. I was like,
Yes, when
oh,
you
I
and I
haven't
were
heard Gimbals.
talking.
That's
Yes.
right.
Oh my
Awesome.
gosh, I
So
love
John
Gimbals,
Wanamaker
Wanamaker's,
said,
A&S. They're all gone.
right, exactly. Yeah. McCrory, the dive store,
Yes.
the nickel bar. Yeah.
Corvettes, Floyd,
Yeah. Yeah.
Caldor.
They're all gone. So, John Wanamaker back in the early 1900s said, 50% of my marketing dollars are wasted. But the problem is, I don't know which 50% it is. So I'm
Oh, that's
stuck.
interesting.
Yes, exactly. Well, it's a problem that we still have today. We still have mathematical problems with attribution. Where did these people come from? How did they decide to buy? So there are a whole lot of things that are decades old problems that technology has only given us a little bit of an answer to. And so let's go back to the privacy issue for a second. Privacy now says Facebook is having a whale of a time figuring out now who I am and what I like. So they're perhaps not finding me as well for the right kinds of ads. Well, that's okay, because when I use list and audience properly, and then I make that first purchase sale, or I get somebody who just raises their hand and wants a coupon, bingo, email. And I can stay in front of them, and I can create my own data set to figure out how I'm reaching people, what they want to hear from me about, what they like, what they don't like, and buy again. And now we're into lifetime value again.
Okay. You have an amazing mind. Okay. And you understand this stuff. You're a data geek. You're a marketing geek, right? But
Yeah.
but beyond being a marketing geek, you are able to apply it to many different industries, right? And
Yes.
figure out those specifics for your client who is a merchandiser and sells out these 2,000 things.
Yes.
My average listener
Mhm.
is probably listening to you going, oh, easy for her to say, but I have no clue where to even start. Yes, we talk about know where your customer hangs out and whatever, but I might have figured all that out or not. I maybe just want to try. Do I throw things at the wall and see what sticks? It's $50 a day. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
If it
Yeah.
doesn't convert, and $50 a day on most of the social platforms really doesn't get you a lot.
It doesn't.
So give me something to those people who are going, oh my God, 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 my head's going to burst.
I can definitely help with that, because
Okay.
I've managed ad campaigns with budgets from $50 a day up to $20,000 a day. Okay. Let me tell you, when you do something right at $20,000 a day, it goes very quickly, but it can turn on you and bite you very quickly, because when you talk about budget, you're talking about speed. So what happens, it's principles. So you use these principles of marketing.
Okay.
Listen offers. That's true at $50 a day, and it's true at 20,000 a day.
And what if
And
somebody
everything.
really can only do $10 a day? Because $10 a day times 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So there are different kinds of campaigns that you can run specifically on Facebook, but Snapchat, TikTok, Google, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and so on and so on. So the algorithms are built to use different parts of the algorithm. And I'll use Facebook. It's the easiest example. Facebook has a campaign type called page post engagement. So
Paid
right
post
now,
engagement?
page, PAGE, page post engagement.
Okay.
Using the page post engagement, I'm reaching people now for a penny each on, for a couple of clients that I'm running page post engagements on. But all that does is say, hey, Facebook, put this post in front of this person. That's all that does. We have no guarantee. There's never a guarantee, but we have very little weighted evidence or tools to say what the person's going to do with that post. They may just
Okay.
look at it. So then we have traffic. And this is another type of campaign. So this says, hey, Facebook, very as inexpensively as possible, grab this audience and send them to this landing page. Okay, that's great. But the problem with that is we're relying on the optimization, conversion optimization of that page to turn that visitor into a sale or into something, whatever, however we measure a conversion. A conversion, just think of a conversion as something I want somebody to do.
Okay.
If I call my best friend and I say, I want to go to coffee, would you go to coffee with me? My best friend says no. First of all, I'm sad. And second of all, that's a conversion that didn't happen. But if my best friend says yes, then great, converted. So that's
like me getting you on the show. I converted you
exactly
to
it
be
was
on the
wonderful.
show.
I was so flattered. Really nice. So traffic campaign tends to be less expensive than, say, a conversion campaign, because a conversion campaign, then Facebook says, I know what you want. You want somebody to spend money with you, or you want somebody who's going to put a product in a cart so that you can get in front of them again. So then they have this psychographic. It's not just a demographic. Demographics are things like age, sex, region that you live in, stuff like that. So what we want, though, is a psychographic. We want to know that this person has purchased before. They've purchased something like it. They purchased something like it recently, and it was about in our price range. Recency, frequency, and money. Those three things. So back to, a marketing principle. So when you do a conversion campaign, then you say, Facebook, find me this person. Make sure they're an online buyer, shopper, and give me X number of, whatever I can get for $10. With a conversion campaign, you can't get a lot for $10 because you're really maxing out all of the tools inside the algorithm. So with page post engagement, you can get a whole lot of people, but you don't know what they're going to do. With traffic, you can get a whole lot of people. You know that they're the people who historically have clicked to go to a landing page, but you don't know what they're going to do if you don't know the conversion rate of your landing page. But with the conversion campaign, there are various ways. It's not just an A/B kind of thing. There are various ways to get people to say, I saw the ad, I clicked on the ad, I went to the landing page, I considered the sale, and I purchased. That's a lot of steps. That's an awful lot of steps.
Yeah.
Right. So it's hard to do that with $10 a day. But if you go page post, if you go traffic, there are a whole bunch of other types of campaigns and ways to reach people. But those three are pretty basic.
I never basic to you, Amy.
Let me help you.
Remember that you're like the total geek here when it comes to all this stuff, which
Absolute
is
nerd.
one of the reasons I wanted you
I
on.
read marketing stuff for like an hour or two a day before I go to work.
There you go. Now, I never knew that there were 3 types,
Oh,
of
there are
ads.
way more than 3 types. It's more
Okay,
like
but these
14.
are 3
Yeah.
that people can start out with. To
Yes.
me, it was like, oh, every once in a while, Facebook sends me hey, we're giving you a $5 credit, or we're giving you a $10 credit. Here, go do some ads. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay. So, I take the credit and I like mock something up really quick, not a lot of thought going into it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, nothing ever happens with it.
Yeah.
So there is so much more. I really need to stop saying so. There is so much more to before you ever do that ad.
Yes.
That a small business person, and I'm saying small business person because not everybody is an entrepreneur. Not every business is an entrepreneurial
Yes.
business. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with being a small business owner. I think it's a massive badge of honor to be a small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
And you start thinking about these different things, and it feels overwhelming, Amy, because you know that you need to grow your business. You need to convert more customers. You want to build your email list because you want to own the customers.
Yes.
The bookstore here, Vero Beach Book Center, they really hurt badly during COVID because they do have an email list, but they didn't have a big online presence. And a lot of their customers really wanted to just go to the bookstore and browse through the bookstore and get their books that way. But nobody was really going into bookstores at that time.
Right.
And they haven't made the leap into that online world because I live in an area where there's mostly seniors. But you can't rely on the seniors because the younger people are coming up. So if you don't start building other models, then your business will suffer, which is why Amazon grew from him packing books in a garage to the behemoth that it is today,
At a loss. How many years were they in the negative? 7, 8?
Decades, it was crazy, right? Everybody's like, oh, this will never work. And then all of a sudden one day, because he was creating an industry, people were back to when the Sears catalog was created, and that was the only way you bought anything, right? And then they put stores in those regions and the catalog started fading out. Well, all Amazon is the Sears catalog online, right? Which is a whole nother beef of mine. Like Sears, how could they have failed when they created the industry?
They didn't keep up.
Yeah,
Kodak.
They didn't keep up. So how do my listeners start figuring out how to do this for themselves, to test it and not end up bankrupt because they're constantly spending money? And I know that you have a newsletter. I know you've got a website, and you do stuff at all different price points for different people based on what they need to do. But how do they start going, okay, I'm ready. I want to dive in, but I want to dip the toe.
Dip the toe. Yes, absolutely. So let me I'll give you 2 things. So I know we're running out of time. The free, like, I'm just going to give this to you and I want nothing in return because that's how the world works. Give and then you're taken care of. So the way this is e-commerce, which is selling anything online. I don't care if you're selling a course, if you have one product store, if you're the Vero Beach bookstore, whatever.
Who are awesome, by the way.
Yeah,
they gave me my first ever book signing.
Oh, that's
and
so
author
cool.
events. They had to keep adding extra rows because so many people came out.
Yes.
And I mean, it was amazing. I had sparkling apple cider, and I had
that's great.
The Fresh Market donated pastries and cookies and stuff like that.
Vera.
So they're a wonderful resource.
I used to live just south of there. I love Vera. That's great. Good.
Yeah. So anyway, a little aside there.
So e-commerce, selling anything online, very broad definition. E-commerce is just top of funnel, bottom of funnel. So when you go onto an ad platform, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Google, whatever, you set up a campaign that reaches cold traffic. Cold traffic is anybody I haven't met yet, which is like 7.8 billion people in the world.
Okay.
Okay. Cold traffic. There will be some tools to help you refine some of that, but you don't need to refine it a whole lot. Top of funnel, and then bottom of funnel is just get in front of them again. 2 layers. You can do, there are a number of different types of campaigns called objectives, referring to the Facebook tools, different campaign objectives, but think of it in terms of top of funnel, cold, bottom of funnel, warm. Okay. Now,
Okay.
I could talk for a whole additional hour or 2 if we had it and you wanted to, going into the rabbit hole of how to set those things up. There are a number of different ways. I had a client come to me a number of years ago, and she didn't have a bottom of funnel. She was doing all cold traffic, top of funnel. First time we sat down and met, she said, what's retargeting? Boom, her whole world opened up. 18 months later, we had our $1.3 million in 12 months of revenue. So,
Wow.
Yeah. So retargeting is just getting in front of those cold people again in some fashion. So top of funnel, bottom of funnel. Somewhere in there, invite them to join your email list. Another kind of retargeting. Stay in front of people. So back to your comment a little while ago about email is dead. Let people say that, because then my emails will do better.
Yeah. Okay.
That's okay. That's all right. It just keeps the noise down in the inbox. So that's all right. So really, you just want to work on and learn about how to do top of funnel, how to invite people to purchase, to get a coupon, to learn more, to join your email list, and then retarget. That's the process.
So top of funnel cold, bottom of funnel warm is sort of like the XY axis floor wall thing, but just in reverse. In this particular case, where we were using the floor is increasing it. It's, you want your funnel deeper and deeper and deeper, because that gives it more space, gives you more room, gives you more people. Like the high ceiling, you want no ceiling. You want it to be open to the air with infinite numbers of people that can come in. Okay. All right. I'm getting
with the caveat that a business whose target is everyone, it's really no one. So you really do have to be very mindful of, who am I trying to reach? Am I trying to reach women in their 50s who, like technology? Okay, great, I'm in. But if it's NASCAR, I don't have a lot of identification with that market. So I don't know how to, listen to something like that. Now, does that mean that I can't sell something for NASCAR? I have sold, I'm never the demographic that I'm trying to reach. And one good example of this is one of the young marketers that I had the pleasure to work with a couple of years ago. He was a young man. He was probably in his 20s, somewhere in the US. He was killing it, selling a subscription box for, wait for it, tampons. Brilliant. Brilliant. You don't have to be in your market. Right.
Sort of like Carlene England Cole, she pretends she's like a 60-year-old white male, and white guy, and she is this stunning, gorgeous black woman who is way younger than the 60-year-old thing. And
exactly.
Got it.
Right. That's exactly it. So you don't have to be in your market to be able to reach your market. Like all the mompreneur businesses selling to kids. Maybe they have kids, like the kids they're selling to, but they aren't the kids that they're selling to. So anyway, it's a tremendous amount of fun. Listen offers. Listen offers. If your listeners get one thing out of what I say today, I want them to get my landing page. But if they get two things today, the other thing is listen offers.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
And we're out of time. And as you said, we can talk forever on this topic. Let's tell people how they can find you, Amy, and
Absolutely.
sign up for
It's
your
very
newsletter
simple.
if they want. Okay.
Very simple. You go to amybiddle.me, AMYBIDDLE.me. And that's a landing page, and there's nothing to sell, nothing to buy there. You can just opt into the email list, and I'll even give you my first newsletter for free. And it's over twice the size of the regular monthlies. So there's a lot of information about there, and I've been told it's kind of fun to read.
And as I already quoted something from your Facebook page earlier today, they should subscribe to you on social media platforms because you give tons of nuggets in there as well.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's really kind of funny. I don't actually know how I ended up in marketing because when I was a kid, I wanted to be invisible. So, this is all about being out there, and my social media needs to be developed. I develop other people's really well, but so thank you for that.
Yeah. So everybody needs to go to amybiddle.me and subscribe and get a copy of her free newsletter. First copy of her free newsletter. You have to subscribe, and it's a paid newsletter going forward. And you do different things all over the place where people can listen to webinars and different resources, or they can reach out to you to find out how you can maybe help them figure out their marketing. So Amy,
my whole business has been built on like free stuff done with you and then done for you. So
I love that. Last thought you want to leave my listeners with?
Keep listening to Laura because she's one of the smartest people I've ever met, and this is a pretty amazing podcast. So I can't wait to hear the rest of the 300 that I haven't heard yet.
Thank you so much, my friend.
True story. True story.
I can't wait for us to actually meet in person since you're just like 3 hours, 2.5 hours up the road from where I am.
We're close. We're neighbors.
Yeah. And I keep saying I'm going to go up to St. Augustine around the holidays just to see the lights that St. Augustine is famous for. So
it's spectacular. We go walk around. It's like, wow, like every year. Nights of lights.
That's what my neighbors say about my house every holiday. I just bought another thing to put out in my yard.
Who's that character? The Tim the
Oh,
Toolman
from National
character?
Lampoon's. National Lampoon.
With all the lights and
you can see it from outer space. He lights it up somewhere from National Lampoon's Christmas. Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thanks for being here with me, Amy.
Thanks
Grateful.
so much, Laura. I love talking to you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's total, so much fun. I knew it was going to be, and it exceeded my expectations.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Great.
All right. Cool.
All right. Thanks.
Everybody, it's these kind of conversations that I love having. I love introducing you to people like Amy, where perhaps you learned one nugget, you had a perception shift, you learned a new question to ask yourself about your business, about marketing, about can you even market? And that's one of the things I love. Reach out to Amy. She's really great. If you send a question out to her, I know she'll answer it because that's who she is. So go to amybiddle.me to find out more about Amy. And at the end of the day, the right questions can change your life. So what are you asking today? Have a great day, everyone. Subscribe to the podcast if this is the first time you're listening to it. Join my email list at laurastewart.com. Since if I did not throw that out there, Amy would be yelling at me and she's off camera and she's going, see, yes, Laura, right there on camera. So have a great day, everyone.
You've been listening to It's All About the Questions, starring Laura Stewart. Connect with Laura at it'sallaboutthequestions.com and download a free workbook that will help you ask better questions starting today.